Welcome back to the I Am More Than podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Wessel. I'm a former Miss Arizona USA professional model and founder of More Than Inc. This week's guest is here to prove that you can have both beauty and brains. From working in an immunology lab to posing for Sports Illustrated Swim, this girl can do it all. In this episode, we chat about stepping outside of your comfort zone, body image and confidence, plastic surgery, and the SI Swim Search. She's owning the nerd label and building a community of hashtag nerdherds to remind you that smart is sexy. I'm excited to introduce you to my friend, Haley Khalil. Welcome to the I Am More Than podcast, Haley. I can't believe you're finally here. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. And Haley and I met when we were competing at Miss USA in 2014, which was a hot second ago.
Oh my!
Can you believe it's been that long?
It feels like it's been ages when it really hasn't been that long.
It hasn't been that long, but it was also another lifetime ago. It's been really cool watching your journey take off over the last few years. And the coolest part about your story, in my opinion, is that everything that you've accomplished is because you stepped out of your comfort zone. You took a chance. You submitted yourself for something. You had no idea what the possibilities could have been. So take me back to that moment when you decide to press record and send a video into Sports Illustrated Swimsuit.
Oh, man. I mean, I never imagined that I could ever submit a video to Sports Illustrated Swimsuit. I mean, I've been dreaming of being in Sports Illustrated since the glory days. I mean, Cindy Crawford, Tyra Banks, Heidi Klum, like all of these iconic names have been in Sports Illustrated Swimsuits. So to me, it felt so out of reach until they did the open casting call. And when they posted on Instagram, I remember the day they posted it on Instagram and they said, all you have to do is submit the 60-second video and you have a chance to meet the editor, MJ Day, who I've never even thought I could be in the same room with, let alone work with. And so I was getting ready for a friend's wedding. And I thought, you know what? I have no idea when the deadline is. I'm going to record this video right now. I don't care what I look like. I don't care what I'm wearing. This is who I am. And so if they're looking for that, they'll say yes. If not, then at least I did it and I can sleep at night. So it was a no-brainer for me. When there's a dream that you want super bad, you just have to go out there and chase it.
Totally. And you didn't overthink it. That's the cool part about your video is like it's so authentically you. You didn't get all dolled up. You didn't put on a swimsuit. Like you were just chilling in your hotel room. I love it.
And my husband made so much fun of me when he got back because I was sitting there like waiting to post it. But I didn't have the courage yet. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, okay, so I recorded this video and it's for Sports Illustrated Swimsuit. And should I post it? And he's like, hell yeah, just post it. Like what could happen? And so he came into that hotel room. That's when I posted it.
Oh, that's crazy. And so then when you hear from the team that they want you to fly out to New York and actually meet you, what's going through your head?
I didn't think I was going to get the email or the message on Instagram at all. Like I had zero expectation because of course, like anyone else, I was looking at the hashtag and seeing all of these gorgeous women that were already models. And I was like, oh, why would they pick my kind of weird video in my hotel room over these girls that have these gorgeous videos with them spinning in their bikinis looking amazing? So I really didn't expect anything from them, but this is a moment I remember too. I was sitting in my house in Minnesota preparing to move to North Carolina. And I was with my mom and we were packing bags and I grabbed my phone because I got an alert and it was a DM and it was from Sports Illustrated. And I lost my freaking mind. I lost it. I was like, there's no way I get to meet them. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. And my mom was like, oh boy, what does this mean? And that's where the journey began.
So cool. I can't even imagine what's going through your mind at that moment. And you had just mentioned that you weren't in the modeling industry before this. Can you tell everybody what you were doing before going into this crazy industry?
Yeah. So my background, it's kind of funny because I did pageantry. That's how we met each other. And that was really just for the experience. And also they give great scholarships. So I did that. And then I did try my hand once at modeling. I went into a modeling agency in Minnesota when I was 17. And they told me that I was too short and they told me that I was too big. And for reference, I'm bigger now than I was then. And so I just decided if that's the way that the industry is, it's probably not going to be a healthy place for me to be, especially at that age. So that's when I kind of focused on academia, and I was preparing to go to medical school. So I graduated with a biomed major, a psychology major, and a minor in chem. And I was working in an immunology lab at the time, right before SI DM'd me.
So beauty and brains, you can have it all.
You can do it all if you put your mind to it.
Definitely. And by you putting yourself out there and by being a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, that in no way takes away from how intelligent you are. And I know that people have probably made comments about that, or if your family wasn't used to it, or even your acquaintances. Was that a weird transition for you to be like, okay, I'm going to step out and not talk about how intelligent I am at this moment. I'm going to actually be in a swimsuit. Like, did it feel contradictory to you, or what was that like?
Yeah, it's funny because I have seen both ends of the spectrum. So I have been in a room where people respect me pretty much just based on what I know intellectually, what I can give them in a laboratory setting. And now I've been on the other side where you walk into a room and people don't expect you to have anything to give as far as your intellect and everything to give as far as the way that you look. So for my parents, who are both mechanical engineers, going into the modeling world was not something that they ever had planned for me. And then on the flip side, the people in the modeling world, once they hear about my background, they would have never imagined that somebody that has those credentials would have entered the modeling world, which is why it's so important for me to show that there are so many women out there. That's why I started the #NerdHerd challenge. There are so many women out there that they're beautiful and they model, but they also have these unbelievable academic backgrounds that are incredible. So you truly, truly can have both.
I think it's really important that you're doing that. I love the nerd herd. I was going to dive right into that because I think it's a really cool way for people to know, like, you're taking that label of nerd and you're totally owning it, where I'm sure that's something like when we were teenagers, you would never want to own that word. And now I think it's so cool you're coming in front of the label and actually branding yourself through it and showing like, no, you don't have to just have beauty or just have brains. They're not mutually exclusive. Have you noticed that you've gotten a crazy response from women saying like, thank you for finally allowing us to have space to kind of reclaim that word?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was surprised by the number of people that posted in the challenge and the amount of success they've had in not only modeling, but in academia and in laboratory work and in engineering, whatever, their background. It was incredible. So I really think it's amazing that women are taking back ownership of things that maybe hurt them in the past. Like for me, it was being a nerd. And I know there are people in the body positive movement that are taking back these things that people used to say to us to hurt us, and are using it now as a moment to empower and to be like, yeah, you know what? I am a nerd, and that's freaking awesome.
Amen. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to start More Than, is because I feel like we're all so much more than whatever label was stuck on us and actually stuck with us for so many years of our life. Like we can all recall the hurtful labels that were put on us at some point.
Oh,
or even if they're not hurtful, it's still labels. Like if somebody just says, oh, Haley's just a model.
Yep.
It's like that's selling yourself short in such a large way.
And you probably hear that all the time too. I mean, you hear, Jordan's just a model. She's only a model. And it's these terms that women do it too. I mean, we can't just put all the blame on men. Men and women love to categorize people. And we forget that you can be so multifaceted and there's so many different dimensions to who you are as a person. And it's important not just to focus on one of those, but all of those, because that's what makes you you.
Yep, you're so right. And I think as a society, it's so easy for us to put labels on other people.
Amen.
Without actually taking the time to get to know every different facet of who they are.
Exactly.
So I think that's another reason why this podcast, I want to talk about all these different sides of who you are, just so people can get to know you on a deeper level, get to know every guest on a deeper level. And I want to dive into confidence too, because I feel like coming from the position that you were in, not having modeling experience, and now knowing that you're meeting with a Sports Illustrated team that radiates confidence, did you walk into that atmosphere feeling as confident as you are today, or what was that journey like?
It's definitely been a journey. I think my thing is fake it till you make it. When I walked into that room, I was shaking, and I mean shaking. Everyone could see it on my face, in my body. I was scared to death because that was a moment that I've dreamed of forever, and it was finally here, and it was my one chance to kind of grab my dream. So I remember the room was a smaller room, and they broke us into two groups. One was a morning group, and one was an afternoon group. And of course, I was in the afternoon group. So I had all day just to fret about like what could go wrong. So I walked into this room and most of the girls were already there and it was dead silent. And I'm a weirdo. I'm a nerd, like I said before. So the first thing I did was I was like, well, this is awkward. Hey, guys, my name's Haley. And I tried to kind of start like an introduction ring so that we weren't all just sitting there staring at each other. And once I did that, I think I found my confidence because I kind of broke the awkward silence. And then from there, everyone was talking to each other and getting to know each other. And we felt a lot more relaxed.
Which is so important, especially like those scenarios. Everybody is so terrified that it's like you can barely get a word out.
Yes.
So it's important to relax.
They're watching you too. Like I knew it's just like in pageantry. If you remember, there was always someone around in the back just watching. And it's the same way in the modeling world. There were people now, because I know who the Sports Illustrated swimsuit family is, there were people in that room that you would have never known worked for Sports Illustrated, but they were sitting there watching. And so I think it was a really cool moment for everyone just to open up. And then hopefully the person who worked for Sports Illustrated got to see more of our personalities behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think that's really important because these days there's countless beautiful women. There's millions of beautiful women. And what deciphers you from the rest is personality, really. And that's kind of what Sports Illustrated Swim stands for, is they treat you guys like individuals, not just as models on a page. Did you feel that from the beginning?
Oh, 100%. That's the thing that I talk about most with people, because initially when you say, and I went through this with my family, when you say Sports Illustrated swimsuit, people think men's magazine. Like that's what the older generation has been taught to think. Then you say, well, did you know that the editor is a female? The assistant editors are female. Pretty much everyone on the team is female. And then on top of that, they were one of the first fashion publications to actually name their models. So back in the day, you used to just have Model 1, Model 2, Model A, Model B. Sports Illustrated swimsuit was the first to name them. So it wasn't Model A, it was Tyra Banks. It wasn't Model B, it was Cindy Crawford. And so they gave these women a platform and a way to kind of showcase who they are and what they believed in instead of just the way that they looked. And that's kind of how I fell in love with Sports Illustrated swimsuit, was because their models were given a platform to show off who they were.
That's the coolest part. And it differentiates Sports Illustrated Swim still from every brand, because I think we're getting to a place now where other brands are kind of like hopping on the bandwagon that they can be empowered and confident and showcase their models, but no one has quite figured it out like Sports Illustrated Swim. And I think that's because it comes from an authentic and a genuine place.
And it truly does. For anyone that's ever met MJ Day, she is like a second mother to me. I mean, that woman lives and breathes female empowerment. And she wants to make the modeling industry a place where everyone feels comfortable to be who they are and what they are and not feel like they have to change a thing.
Yep. I love that. And I'm excited to see people continue to kind of adapt that mindset. Since you signed with an agency in New York after you started modeling with Sports Illustrated Swim, did you ever see some of those uglier sides to the modeling industry?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've probably seen it many, many times. It's something that when I'm talking to younger models, because I went into modeling so late in the game, I was 24 when I entered, when most girls are 16. I tell them, be prepared to hear every single negative thing about the way that you look. Like there's this TikTok that I always share with people, and it's this kid that is looking at his comments and he goes, "Oh man, there's another insecurity," because these people would point out these things that I didn't even ever see in myself. But then the second somebody points it out, it's all you can focus on. You're like, "Oh my gosh, are my fingers too short? Is my nose too curved? Like, are my eyes different sizes?" And it's things that you never notice in the real world, but that people in the fashion industry are really quick to point out. So yeah, I have seen some ugly, ugly sides of the fashion industry, but I'm really hopeful that those are changing because I'm starting to see them change right before my eyes. And it's clients like Sports Illustrated Swimsuit that are pioneering the way so that these other companies feel safe in changing how they're doing it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you had said earlier, they treat them like models and almost like personalities, especially with social media. Now, models have kind of taken back their voice. It's no longer just a pretty picture and you know nothing about the woman or what she's been through behind the scenes. That now brands need to be able to treat their models with respect or else you're going to hear about it, which I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if anyone on here follows Diet Prada, there was this huge thing with women sending him. I think it's a guy that runs it. I'm not really sure, him or her. Different things that happened with photographers, and they had screenshots, and it's kind of been a way for women to take back their voices and feel safe in sharing negative or positive experiences with the world.
Yeah, definitely. And through the modeling experience, because given you have just posed for Sports Illustrated Swim, which I'm sure I want to dive into that because I'm sure that was a high. And you're now seeing photos of yourself all over and then going into castings for other clients. And is it playing kind of tricks on your body image or on your confidence because you keep going through these like highs and lows and highs and lows?
Yeah, I think that when you're in the modeling world, you're never going to be fully confident in the way that you look. And I think in life, you're never going to be fully confident in the way that you look at. And that's okay. That's something that we need to learn to accept and be okay with and sit with. But the important thing is that we can come out of that and that we surround ourselves with people that will help us out of that and tell us that we're beautiful and tell us that we're worthy, and that we don't, especially in the modeling world, that we don't work with clients that make you feel like crap. Like that's so important. It's not worth the money to work with somebody that's just going to bring you down all day, because that's going to reflect in you months and months later.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right. And I think we're seeing it a lot on social media too, is that you have these opinions of you constantly. And you had actually posted something a couple weeks ago that you were showcasing how your body looks in so many different angles, which is so important for women, especially to be able to see that like, oh, my body also looks like that. Like, oh, that's just a flattering picture. And you had shown that there was a lot of people that were saying negative comments about the fact that you were doing that. Can you tell me a little bit about what was going on?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. What I tried to do is I posted, a picture in a position that I use in modeling all the time, where it makes your booty look big and it makes your waist look tiny. And then if you shift that position even the tiniest bit, the way that your body looks completely changes. And I think when you post something like that, you get both sides. You hear the people who say, "Thank you so much for doing this." And then you hear the people that just want to pick you apart. And I think that that's just the internet trolls that are always going to be there. So that was hard for me to read some of the comments because a lot of people were really hateful and I couldn't understand why. I know that we were going through a tough time with the lockdown, and then we were having a lot of issues politically. And I think that social media became an outlet for hate and just for anger because people needed to express it somehow. And, Instagram influencers or just women, men online became the targets.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty well said because that's exactly what's happening. And unfortunately, just where everybody's at right now is it's much easier to critique somebody else and focus on somebody else than to actually sit with yourself.
Yes, 100%. And I'm not the type of person that will ever comment on somebody's photo something negative, but we've all been there. We've all looked at a picture of a celebrity and rolled our eyes or said something mean in our own heads. And in those moments, you have to check yourself. You have to be like, no, this is a human being with feelings. You can't say those things. It's just not appropriate.
No, not at all. And I don't know why social media has given so many people the freedom to say whatever they want if they would actually never say that in person. Like if I wouldn't say it to your face, why the heck would I type it anonymously on a photo of you?
Oh,
it's crazy.
I can't even imagine what it's like for teenagers or, 13, 14, 15, living through an age where people can say something on their social media that can hurt them in a way that that person never even knew. I would be a wreck. I mean, they need so much support right now. And I hope that they have friends and family behind them because I don't think I could have grown up in this world.
No, it's become a pretty scary world, and you need a very strong sense of self in this world, especially when you're putting yourself out there. And when you showed your Instagram story where you were actually emotional saying like, listen, if you took this the wrong way, that wasn't my intention. Did you see a lot of people either backtracking on what they said or acting like humans and having a little bit of compassion and empathy? Or what did you see by the people that were reaching out to you?
Yeah, that's kind of my biggest advice that I have to people when it comes to social media is if you have somebody that's attacking you, treat them with kindness, and usually they'll quickly turn it around because they realize that you're a person and that you did see those comments. I mean, even if you're Kylie Jenner, you're reading the comments. It's what people do. You kind of want to see what people are saying. You're curious. And so when you see something negative, it hurts you. And you can get really emotional depending on how you're feeling about yourself and your body. And you just have to remember that these models, these celebrities, they're people. And these things that you write, whether you're tagging a friend and laughing at what they look like, they see that and it does affect them.
Yeah. Whether I know you or I don't know you, that sticks, especially when it's a hateful thing. And like you had said with the modeling industry in the beginning, that it was pointing out things that were quote unquote wrong with you that you never even knew. And now you have a lot of anonymous people online kind of doing the exact same thing. And I think it takes a very strong sense of self for somebody to remove themselves and be like, I'm not going to let those words attach to me. But you had started talking to some other women back and forth that were almost like calling you out for stuff you had done to your body. And you were like, I'm not hiding anything. So if that's what you're trying to like catch me in a hiding something, you're not going to. Can you tell me about that and what the whole situation was?
Yeah. So I like to be very open with my followers. I mean, I want every single person to be confident in their body journey, whatever that journey may be. So I opened up about the fact that back when I was 18, I got breast implants. And I had an entire journey. It's been a long time in the making of getting those removed. And I felt from a lot of men and from women that because I had plastic surgery, that I was less than, or that I was faking body confidence, or that, I was promoting this false image of who I am. And that's something that I'd love for people to normalize because I had so many women and so many messages in my DMs saying, I went through the same thing. I got plastic surgery without anyone knowing, and now I'm afraid to open up about it, or I feel like I'm going to be judged. And I think that we really need to take that stigma away from that because the social media is telling you all these things that are wrong with you, right? And then when you go to try to fix it, they tell you more things that are wrong with you, and then they tell you that you're fake for doing that. So I think it's important to normalize whatever our body journeys are, whether that's getting plastic surgery, whether that's losing weight, gaining weight, whatever that is, it's normal because it's part of your journey.
Yep. And you're ultimately the one that's in control of your own body. So if that's the decision you chose to make, why should you defend it?
Exactly. It's like for me, I have so many friends that have gotten work done and they're afraid to talk about it because they think people will judge them. And sadly, they're right. People will judge them. But it's so important that we feel confident in the decision that we make about our own body. Like if I wanted to get breast implants, I did it. And that was a choice I made. And then when I got them removed, that was another choice I made because I felt like it was right for my body. So for people to have an opinion on that is, quite frankly, it's just sad.
It is sad. And I think that you said it so beautifully. At the end of the day, it's your body.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to make a decision on if you want to change that or not, like by taking them out, which I do want to ask just because I'm curious. A lot of people have been taking out their breast implants now, and I know some is because of health reasons and some not. Was yours because of a health reason, or did you just decide, hey, that was what I wanted when I was 18, and now that I'm in my 20s, I no longer want that?
For me, it was a mixture of both. So I had pain that shot down my arms when I was in certain positions, and I had tried a different implant. So, oh my goodness, again, it's been a journey. I, originally got these implants and then I had them switched out when I started getting the shooting pain. And then eventually I just decided, you know what, screw it, take them out. We'll figure it out. And thankfully, I worked with an amazing surgeon who's known for breast reconstruction, and he helped me through the journey. But it was health and just personal reasons. It's a combination of both.
And does it ever frustrate you when then people come and attack and critique your body when you're like, you have no idea how much I've actually been through?
Oh, totally.
And I also think that there's so many people that feel like they have to defend what they've been through and overshare when they're not comfortable doing that. Did you ever feel like you needed to overshare to like validate that they were wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny whenever you put yourself on social media, people automatically think that they have a right to know every little thing about your life, including your health. So when you post a picture and people assume you've had, A, B, or C done, and they continue to ask you, they're like, oh, she's had this, she's had this, she's had this. And they keep basically screaming at you in the comments until you have to share what your journey was. And then even after you share what your journey was, they call you a liar and keep screaming at you. So there's just all this pressure on social media to, be this natural beauty, to not get anything done. But then when you say you've gotten something done, to share other things that you haven't gotten done. I mean, it's just this crazy, crazy world where people feel pressure from all angles.
Yep, you're so right. And does that take a toll on your mental health ever?
Oh, 100%. I think if it didn't, you're a psychopath. I mean,
right? You're not human.
You can have 150 comments about how beautiful and amazing you are. If you have one that calls you, fat or ugly, or they say your forehead's too big or your lips look crazy, like that's what sits with you. Because you're a human, and negative things being said about your physical appearance or about who you are hurt. And so it's so important. It's so important to surround yourself with people that tell you the good things about yourself so that you kind of overload on the positive. And then when those few negative things trickle in, you're able to block them out a lot better.
Yeah, that's very, very important. And you need a strong support system as well. And I think it's probably great. Are you living in the same city as your family, or are you in North Carolina now?
No, so right now I'm in North Carolina. I'm all over the place.
I was going to say, I don't even know where you live anymore.
I don't
Where
either.
Are you?
You and me both. So I have an apartment in New York. So when I'm working, I'm usually in New York. So before COVID hit, I was in New York. And then I came back to North Carolina where Matt and I have a house for the lockdown. And then after the lockdown lifted, I went over to LA because I work in LA as well. And then I came back to Charlotte now because we are moving out of this house. And I'm going to be going to New York, and Matt is probably going to be going to LA. So I am all over. And then my family's in Minnesota.
Wow. Oh my goodness, girl. So will you and Matt still have a home base somewhere, or you just be spending more time in LA?
Probably LA. So home base will be LA, but for me, home base is going to be New York and LA. I'm going to split my time between the two.
Girl, that's a dream. I love
know,
it.
Right? I love it.
Well, right? It's so fun. And you have good connections and really strong girlfriends in both cities that I'm sure that helps a lot too, because I think it's important that when you're dealing, we all deal with body image and confidence issues, but when it's on the level that you're at now where you're a public figure. You know, you have people not only on social media, but also seeing you in magazines. And I think it's important that you're able to confide in other people that understand that journey in order to get support on a different level. Do you agree with that?
Oh, totally. Because if I didn't have the friends and family that I do, I would have had so many more mental breakdowns than I've already had. Like going through, the not being a model to being a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model to having I think I went from maybe 50 or I don't know how many followers I had on the page I have now. I went from 50 to 300 and something thousand. And that was something that I was not mentally prepared for. So thank God for my friends and family who backed me up during all of my mental breakdowns.
Girl, it's totally normal to have mental breakdowns. I think that means you're just human.
Yes.
What are some things that you do to gain confidence?
I think this sounds really weird, but when I'm having a moment where maybe a bunch of people have said something negative about me online, or I went to a casting and the people were just rude, my way of decompressing is I love building Lego sets. I know that's super weird, but
oh my God, I love you.
It's a perfect time where your brain when you're building one of those Lego sets, your brain can't focus on anything else. So your brain doesn't even have the time to be like, you're ugly, you're ugly. It's focused on okay, this piece goes here, this piece goes here. So it's a great way to kind of shut off that negative voice in your head that's screaming at you and just focus on something else and reset your brain.
Yeah. I think that's very, very good advice on whatever it is. I love that Legos is your way to escape. But I think that the worst thing that you can do in those moments where you're not having confidence is scroll on social media.
Oh, yeah. Avoid, put your phone down. It's so important to know when to put your phone down and when to stop reading. And for a lot of people, they get a lot of crap for deleting negative comments. In my opinion, I'm like, you go, girl. Clean up your page. If you don't want to see it, delete it. If somebody has, thinks they have the right to say something rude about you, you have the right to delete their comment. So take all of the hate off of your page, and you should not feel guilty for that.
Yep. I love that. And I think it's also really important that people need to be aware of who they're following. That if you're looking at somebody and they do not make you feel good, or you can tell that your mood changes or your confidence changes or anything like that, I think it's important to kind of filter through that as well. Because you need to be aware of who you're looking at all day.
Yeah.
Are they empowering you, or are they making you feel less than?
Oh, totally. And I remember when my social media following was growing, I felt this pressure to be this perfect model looking human, which I've never been in my life. So I was scrolling through all my pictures oh my gosh, none of these fit this image in my head of what a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model should be posting. And so I finally was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to post who I am and what I am. And I've actually had a lot more positive things said to me after I became myself on my social media, instead of worrying about oh no, my one eye looks a little off in this picture. Should I not post it? Take control of your social media and own who you are, because that's when the positivity will kind of come back at you.
Totally. And you've now been in Sports Illustrated Swim 3 times. Am I right on that?
You are. Yep.
Girl.
Crazy.
So after the first time, because it was an open casting call for the first one, and then you found out that you were going to be a rookie. How did you find out, and what is going through your mind?
Oh, man. So, of course, Sports Illustrated Swimsuit they are the king and queen of surprises. You never know what's going on with them ever. You don't know if you're going to be invited back. You don't know if you're going to be casting with them. You know nothing. They will always get you. So I got an email saying that they were doing a trip to Vegas. It was a sponsorship thing, supposedly. And they basically just drew names out of a hat of which models were going. And they were like, can you go? If not, don't worry, we'll pick somebody else. And I was like, oh, I can go. I'll be there.
I'm going.
Like, I will cancel anything to be there. Like, sorry, sister's wedding, I'm going. No. Then the second we got to Vegas, it was me, a few of the other models that were actually, Sports Illustrated swimsuit models, and then Camille Kostick, who was part of the swim search as well. And so we both kind of looked at each other like, we got really lucky that our names were drawn. Like, this is awesome. And then the first day goes by, we do all the sponsorship stuff. The second day goes by, and we go to this pool party, and I'm like not expecting anything. I'm just chilling by the pool, and all of a sudden, Danielle Harrington comes over to Camille and I and says, I don't even remember what she said, but basically that a lot can change in 1 year. And in that moment, all this like confetti and balloons came out, and then they had like our faces on these posters, and they were like, you're the winners of the model search. And I broke down crying. I was like shaking. I could not believe it. I honestly could not believe it.
I have goosebumps just hearing you talk about it. And I remember seeing the video of it too. And it's funny because the majority of the top 6 swim search girls I actually knew going into it. And of course, I was closest with you and also Camille. Mm-hmm. So seeing you both, I was like, of all of the women that applied for this, like it's attainable.
Yeah.
Like these women just believed in themselves enough to try. And I think that showed women all over the place that like, it's not that out of reach. You just have to believe in yourself enough to actually step out of your comfort zone.
100%. And I tell people this all the time. I am the most normal human being ever. Like I'm not a model. I am not like some like fancy pants designer wearing, like I am so normal. So if I can do it, like anyone can do it. Trust me.
I love when you come out with your like style photos and it's like your shirts from Forever 21 and Target. And you're like eating Taco Bell. And I'm like, girl, I could chill with you all day.
Oh yeah.
You're my kind of people.
I'm in a Walmart sweatshirt because they're so comfy. If you haven't bought a sweatshirt from Walmart, do it. And it's great. I'm so normal.
I love it. And how has it been on your marriage? I mean, you guys got married far before you were ever even dreaming about getting thrown into this world. What has that been like now, knowing you guys have to be bi-coastal? And I know he's a football player, so he probably has to be somewhere for work. But what has that impact been like on your guys' relationship?
Well, for him, it's been weird just because he knew me as like the nerdy lab rat Haley. Like he did not know me as like this woman that would walk on red carpets or shoot for these high profile magazines. Like that was not me. So he got a lot more than he bargained for, which
I was going to say, he got lucky.
Like, he's been really supportive. I mean, he always talks about how he had the ability to live his dream so young, entering into the NFL. He was able to live that dream. And now he always tells me, I want you to live yours. Like I had my moment in the spotlight doing what I had always dreamed of. Now it's your turn. And I could not ask for a better support system. He is incredible.
That's amazing. How did you guys meet?
So I was on a date with somebody from Tinder. The date was going terribly. And this guy just kept saying, my friend lives right down the road. And so we had already ordered food. And I was like, oh, well, but you should invite him. Like, I want to meet your friend. And his friend was Matt. And
oh my God.
So that was the first time that I met him. And the guy that I went on the date with is still, funny thing, one of my best guy friends. Like he is my number one in my phone, probably of my guy friends. He's Matt's best friend. Like we're like a little clan now, but it's the running joke that I met my husband through Tinder because I was on a date with this other guy from Tinder.
That's
and that's
amazing.
Where he came to. So yeah. We least expected to meet them, I swear.
Yeah, for real. And how long ago was this?
Oh my goodness. So I met him initially, gosh, it was before Miss USA. I was probably 19 And then we didn't talk because I was in and out of a relationship with somebody else. So we didn't talk for like a few years until the day I broke up with my boyfriend. He slid into my DMs and he was like,
Yes.
remember me? And he had some funny picture. And I immediately was like, yes, I remember you. And we went out on a date. And 3 months later, we were engaged. And 6 months after that, we were married.
And your guys' wedding photos were freaking gorgeous. I know that's a topic for another time, but beautiful.
Thank you. It was all the photographer and makeup artist. Thank you.
And I guess you're pretty good looking too, you know.
Aw, thanks, Norman. Right back at you.
Well, I'm glad you have such a great support system. I think that's really, really necessary. And if somebody was wanting to enter, because there is another swim search going on right now, if somebody was trying to build up the courage to record a video and submit it, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to them?
Don't overthink it. Just do it. Like, just be yourself. I'm living proof. You don't have to have some crazy, like, professional videographer shoot you in this gorgeous sunset beach. Like, you don't have to do that. Just don't overthink it. Be yourself and click the submit button. Do it. Like, your entire life can literally change in a second. And I'm living proof of that.
So what's next for you? What do you see happening after? That's a very difficult question. I get that because COVID threw off everything.
Oh, everything.
So if you have any idea of what life looks like after COVID, what is it?
Well, for me, I'm kind of new in this modeling game. So for me, it's still learning and growing and trying to grow my career. And I have obviously dream clients. Sports Illustrated Swimsuit was one of them that I want to check off my bucket list. So working towards that. Also crossing my fingers that one day I can get a Sports Illustrated Swimsuit cover. That is my ultimate dream. But just growing and learning in this new industry. I love what I do and I want to keep doing it.
Well, girl, I have a recording of you for August 25th of 2020. So when you're on the Sports Illustrated cover, I'm pulling this clip and I'm going to send it right to you. Replay it. You got to manifest this stuff.
I love it.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud of you and just really proud to know you, honestly, because I feel like the same girl that I met in 2014, we were like across the hall from each other, just hanging out late at night, not knowing what the hell we were doing at Miss USA.
Oh my God.
I think it's really cool.
It's been really cool to see your journey too, because I adore your body positivity posts. Like, I look forward to them so much because they mean so much to every single woman, because no matter what your size, like, you have gone through the things that you spell out in your posts. Like, I've been there with Miss USA. Like, I could relate so much to that because I was the smallest I've ever been at Miss USA. So I'm proud to know you too, girl.
Thank you. We'll be cheering each other on. So there you have it. I hope you got just as much out of this episode as I did. Please take a second to rate and review the podcast. And remember, you are so much more than whatever label's been placed upon you. We'll see you next week.